Hi everyone, welcome to Layo's Academy. My name is Layo. I am an IT audit and risk professional with experience across the big four public accounting and corporate technology risk. On this channel, I help people break into IT audit, grow in this career, and also do the actual work with confidence, teaching them like the foundation. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel. And if you are an old subscriber, please ensure you share this video to your friends that might need it. Today, I am going to be showing you a practical IT audit work paper, how we actually document IT general controls, like the testing documentation. A lot of people ask and say, yeah, I know, theory, I know my IT general controls, I know access control, but what does it look like? How do I document it? How, will my work paper look like? So this is a sample of what a real IT audit work paper looks like. This is how you would normally see your IT audit work paper. Some of these are embedded, or some organizations use different tools, GRC, maybe like audit board, Archer, or some other tools. But basically, like you would see, like this is what they would look like. Like the files inside these tools would also look like. Okay, so let me tell you what we'll be covering today. I have a full ITGC work paper open on my screen right now, and it is built around one of the most common SOX controls you would ever test. um it is terminated employees, system access not being removed on time, right, for terminated access. So this is access management, and it is one of the four core IT general control domains. It is tested like in almost every SOX engagement, like every SOX engagement, as a matter of fact, every year. My work paper has 5 tabs, and we are going to go through every single one of these tabs. So the first tab is the cover page. The second tab is the testing detail. The third tab is the exception logs and finding. The fourth tab is the audit conclusion, and the fifth tab is where I have my evidence package, right, where like I document like the evidence I use for all my testings. By the end of this video, you will know what a complete professional ITGC work paper looks like, from like, the field, from the cover page all the way through the supporting evidence tab I have in at the end. So now let's get right into it. Yeah, this is my IT audit work paper, and this is the cover page. This is very important. This is where every work paper would normally start, from the cover page. I want you to understand that it is not just like an a formality for you to have a cover page. This tab is what like external auditor, or maybe your reviewer, a senior auditor, or a SOX reviewer would actually read first, to orientate themselves before they look at your evidence. If this tab is incomplete, or if it is vague, it signals immediately that the rest of your work paper may have a problem. Okay, so I'm going to go through what we have. At the top, we have the name of the organization. I put Lions Academy, has the demo company. Okay, um this tells you like the audit entity, like the organization you are auditing. And then I have the fiscal year or audit period. This tells you like what period, like the year or the dates that you are auditing. And then next, I have the control domain. It tells you the domain. In this case, it is general control, specifically logical access. It could be IT application control. So it will tell you the exact domain you are testing. And then I have the regulatory framework. What regulatory framework is addressing it? This is, related to SOX section 404. Then this is my work paper reference number. Or each work paper would normally have like a number, like a work paper number, or each control number. Aside the control name, there would also be a control number. Then the other things, I have the date prepared, who prepared it, and the date it was reviewed, and the who reviewed it, and the date it was reviewed. So that is like the summary of the audit engagement that I have at the top there. The next is the control summary. Now, what are we testing? What control? At the top, we have at the top of the control section, we have the control name. Okay, we have the control name. This section is very important because it will contain like the fields that will separate your work with to know what exactly you are testing. The control name is specific in this situation. It says timely removal of user access upon termination. I did not just write access management. Yes, it's under access management. What part of it? So it's termination, not just user access. This is specific enough so that anyone that is reading it will know exactly what we are testing. And then I have the control ID also. We have the system name. Yeah, I have Active Directory slash sale point identity management platform. I have the environment. It's a production environment. The control owner, IT security operations team, most of the time you would have like a particular name, not just the team name that would be there. And then the control frequency. Yeah, the control frequency is event driven, triggered by each employee termination. Some controls could be quarterly, annually, semi-annually, depending on the control. Okay. Another what the driven control mean is that every time someone is terminated, like we have to test the control. Okay, then another thing we have is the evidence type. How did you get your evidence? Where is the evidence coming from? Yeah, it's system generated evidence, not a manually prepared evidence. Okay, again, an important part is the risk addressed. What is the risk that we address trying to mitigate by testing this control? It says unauthorized access to production systems by terminated employees, creating risk of data breach, fraud, and SOX financial reporting integrity concerns. So this is the risk this control is addressing. Again, the ITGC domain is access, and then we have the control type. What type of control is it? Is it preventive or is it detective? Okay, so we also have that it could be it's preventive and detective. Then I have the control description here, which would like kind of states. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Yes. So the control description: upon notification of employee termination, IT security operation team is responsible for disabling or removing the terminated employees' access to all production system, including Active Directory, core business applications, and privileged accounts. So like the whole control description is written like what the control is expected to do. Then we have the test objective. What is the objective? We are testing to determine whether terminated employee system access is being removed within the required 24-hour time frame by the policy in accordance with IT Access Management Policy 4.2 and also the framework subsection 404 for the period January 1, 2025 through 31 December. Okay, and then we have the overall conclusion. This is where you will put your overall conclusion at the end of your testing. This is not something that will come, but because this is a completed work paper, I have the overall completion here stating exception tested. Okay, now let's go to tab 2. Tab 2 is where the actual audit work lives. You can see all the headers there. The header, tells you like the total population and then the sample size that we selected, the sampling methodology that was used also, risk based, including all privileged accounts plus random sample. This is also very important. You documenting your sampling methodology. Okay. Um then each role that we have here represents one person in a sample, and the type of accounts. We looked at all the privileged accounts here, the high risk accounts, and yeah, that's the details of like each of the 25 samples that was done, and the reviewing, like we'll review the evidence. After reviewing the evidence, we document, what we have there. So we have the employee name, the ID, department, account type. We have the termination date, HR notification date also. The termination date, the HR notification date, and the access remove date are the three data points, at the heart of this test. So we'll be comparing like these 3 dates for every single person to determine whether the control operated within the 24-hour time frame as required by the policy. Okay. At the end of this testing, like there were some exceptions, and you can say I documented it there that they were not real. So basically, this is what you look at. Then the evidence reference, and we are going to see the evidence tab in a minute. Okay, all these testing details is tied to an evidence. You have to like have looked at the evidence and be able to know what, and that's why like I put the evidence reference number, and on my evidence package you have to go and look at the actual evidence and see what I saw for me to conclude maybe this is a pass or a no. Okay, now the next thing is exception logs and findings. This is where like you put or you do your analytical work. You are counting the exception. Yes, in my testing details, I know the number. I counted 5 exceptions or thereabout. That is not really auditing. Understanding why it happened and what the business risk is what another step forward. Every exception that I find, I have to document it and explain what I saw to document it as an exception, with like specifically like, and then the root cause, right? So I have each of the sample reference for the exceptions I found, what happened, what it is supposed to be, like what should have happened. I have the root cause here, I have the consequences, and what the corrective action is, and then I have a risk rating here. Okay, so that is another thing that is documented in your audit work paper. And then the next tab I have is the auditor conclusion. This is a formal conclusion tab, and this is what like maybe external auditors or the audit committee like what they would read. The testing results summary will give you the numbers at a glance. Population of 87, sample of 25, 19 pass, 6 failed, 24% exception rate against a 10% tolerable rate. Okay, so now this is my conclusion, that the operating effectiveness conclusion, I documented this. I think I talked about how to write a good audit finding in previous videos. So here I said based on the result of testing, the control AM10001 is not operating effectively for the period January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025. 6 exceptions were identified in a sample of 25, representing an exception rate of 24%, which exceeds the tolerable error rate of 10%. Pattern analysis indicates that the exceptions share common root cause. And then I detailed what I found: service now ticket prioritization, misconfiguration, and absence of an after hour or end of day termination protocol. And then I have a one high severity exception, which involves a financial reporting system and requires evaluation for potential SOX deficiency reporting. Another thing I have here is recommendations. So as IT auditors, like you can recommend what should be done to fix it, not like mandate it to be done by the IT team. So the recommendations are sequenced by urgency and timeline, right? So I have like something that can be done immediately, something that can be done immediately, something that can be processed or like can be strategic. Okay, so yes, so that's another thing that you would find documented in your work paper. And then yes, there's going to be a sign off by the person that prepared, the person that reviewed, and the person that approved this work paper. Okay, and then the final tab I have here is the evidence package, and this is where like I documented screenshots of all the evidence. Again, as IT auditors, if you do not have the evidence, then you did not see anything, like you did not test anything. Okay. It is very important that your evidence is documented with, and you validate completeness and accuracy, making sure like you have timestamps again, so that when any other person picks your work paper, they can see what you saw. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through one or two of the evidences. So for example, this is evidence 004. This is a service now ticket detail screen for ticket INC 00892334. Now look at the submission time and the completion time on this ticket. The ticket was raised the same day as the termination date, but the IT processing was delayed, pushing the total like time to 27 hours as against 24-hour policy requirement. The ticket priority shows medium, which is the first signal that the escalation rules were not configured correctly for termination requests. This is should have been maybe like a high priority because it has to be completed within 24 hours. So access removes 27 hours after termination. Policy requires 24 hours. Okay, so that is the sample. So I have other evidences also documented there. If you would like a copy of this ITGC work paper, you can send me a DM, or you can visit my next use store, because this is a complete ITGC work paper from cover page to evidence package with the tabs documented in a professional way using a real life scenario that comes up in like actual SOX audits all the time. Um, so if you are heading into your first IT audit role, please save this video and come back to it before your first engagement. If you are also preparing for an interview where they ask you to walk through your documentation approach, this is the structure I want you to be able to describe like in a cold way. If you want hands-on practice building work papers like this yourself using like a fictional company scenario, you would also find details like additional examples in my IT audit fundamentals module. You can click the link in my bio to visit my store and get this. I also have a detailed hands-on practice lab. And if you want this particular work paper, you can also send me a DM. Like this video if it showed you something that you have never seen before, and also share it with someone on your team or in your study group who needs to see what a real work paper documentation looks like, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people get stuck on this. So if you have never seen a real work paper documentation, or you have friends who have not seen one, please share this video with them and drop a comment telling me what question you still have about work papers after watching this. I would read every single of your comments and I will reply. I will see you in the next one. Please ensure you continue to learn with purpose, grow with confidence, and lead with grace. My name is Layo, founder of Liars Academy. Thank you.